And we'll move on to our last coach of the morning, the head coach of the number 3 ranked Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, Joe Moglia. Good morning, Coach.
Morning, Mark.
Congratulations to you and the team on the 48-3 win over Florida A&M, home this Saturday against Elon. A game to be televised on the American Sports Network, the conference's first broadcast on ASN. If you can open up and talk about, summarize the Florida A&M game, and then give us your thoughts on Elon, we'll go into any questions.
I think across the board, Mark, as far as Florida A&M goes, I thought we played our best game. I think I was especially proud of the way the special teams handled themselves. I think in every phase of the game, we really kind of held our own or did better than that. From a defensive perspective, I am very proud of. I've always been proud of their effort, but we haven't been as consistent as what we needed to be. We've been much more consistent this year. We're tackling better. We're in better position. Our techniques and fundamentals are better. Our defensive staff is doing a really good job there, and our guys continue to improve. We're happy to see that. And our offense certainly did well, but we're kind of hurting ourselves a little bit. Normally, we've been pretty good with regard to third down efficiency, but frankly, and normally we're pretty good with regards to penalties, but we have too many penalties that kind of kill our drives. We're hurting ourselves, and we've got to be able to do a little bit better at that. But across the board, I was very, very pleased with our overall effort. And without question, while it wasn't a perfect, complete game for us, it was a good, solid, complete game, and I was happy with that.
All right, thanks, Coach. We'll begin to start taking any questions for Coach Joe Moglia. Please press *1 on your phone, or click the Q&A link near the top of your browser and click Raise Hand to join us via the web. And Coach, while we're waiting for questions to come in, if you can talk about Elon coming into Conway this Saturday.
Yeah, Elon, after the tough season that they had a year ago, they brought in a new coaching staff. They are guys that, many of whom are pretty good friends with our coaching staff, so we've got our guys have a pretty good feel for them and vice versa. I think anytime you bring in, and the program's been a little down, you bring in a new staff, there's a lot of enthusiasm, and everybody's ready to go, everybody gets optimistic. But it always takes a little while for that to become part of the culture and to really sink into the program. So when you look at the schedule that Elon's had so far, they opened up with Duke, and frankly, and Duke is undefeated, and they certainly didn't embarrass themselves there. They played a tough game with A&T. They could have won that game. They lost by 5. If you remember our game against North Carolina A&T, we only won by 1. That game could have gone either way. And then they go ahead and beat an FBS Charlotte team, who was 3-0. They've got 75 scholarships, and they'll be at 85 a year from now. But 75 scholarships for versus teams in our league with everybody back from a year ago. Charlotte's a formidable opponent, and they beat them. So I have no doubt that they're enthusiastic, kind of excited, ready to go. Their offense is similar to ours, frankly. Their defense is well coached and a good, solid fundamentals across the board. They're effective with their run fits. They'll bring pressure. They'll be aggressive. They'll mix things up, and their special teams have been sound across the board. So I think with the enthusiasm over a win against an FBS school that was undefeated with 75 scholarships, and a new coaching staff, they're certainly going to come into our place, ready to go, and we have no doubt that they're going to be well prepared and jacked up for the game.
Coach, you mentioned the play of your defense earlier in your opening comments. There's one player in particular, Roderick Holder, who's had a couple of great games for you the last couple of weeks. Just talk about his emergence for you.
Yeah, I think you got somebody mixed up, Mark. I'm assuming you're talking about Quinn. And, so from a defensive perspective, Quinn he was our player. He was Coastal's defensive player of the week for us. He had an outstanding game. He had an interception. He had tackles for losses. He was all over the field. And because we were fortunate enough to be ahead, we took him out probably about halfway through the third quarter. But he's had an exceptional year so far, and he continues to be the leader of our defense. You may have also been referencing Rod Holder, and Rod's defensive end, and Rod's done a really good job for us as well. He's been doing a good job playing the run. He's been effective playing the pass, and both of those guys are reasons why we're doing reasonably well on defense.
Thanks, Coach. My last question for you. because of the margin of the score, you're able to get a lot of your younger guys in towards the end of the game. Just your overall assessment of how they looked, and maybe a couple players who stood out for you from that standpoint.
One of the things that I feel pretty strongly about is that when we're preparing our, and this is all a matter of practice organization, when we're preparing our game plan, in order for that game plan to be effective, it's got to be effective 2 units deep, and that means your 2 units got to get really an awful lot of work. Otherwise, what happens is you make a substitution in a game, and that guy's not quite on top of what he needs to do, and you got a good sound game plan, but you make a call and you got a breakdown because one of the guys, frankly, didn't understand it enough because we didn't give him enough reps. That's our responsibility. So I think across the board we do a good job of making sure our seconds, our twos wind up getting a lot of work. I think from a defensive perspective, I was certainly pleased with the way Alex Scarce played at safety. He's a sophomore for us now. From an offensive perspective, I was certainly older guys. Frankly, the entire second unit line, maybe with 1 or 2 exceptions, I thought wound up holding their own and doing very, very well. And from a special teams perspective, because of the lead, we went with Ryan Granger to actually kick a field goal, early in the fourth quarter, and it was a long one, and he was able to make that. But that was with our backup holder, our backup snapper, and our backup kicker. So across the board, the twos held their own, but frankly, I think we expected that based on the amount of work we actually give them.
All right, Coach, thank you. I'm not seeing any more questions for you, so we'll let you go. We thank you for joining us, and good luck Saturday against Elon.
Thanks, Mark.
All right. Once again, Chanticleer is hosting Elon, 7 p.m. on the American Sports Network. Those TV clearances will be sent out, available May tomorrow. Well, that will conclude our weekly teleconference. My thanks to all the coaches and media for joining us. Playback of this call will be available later on BigStyleSports.com. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great rest of the week, and we'll talk to everyone next Tuesday.